seen anything official. I think that was outsiders trying to come up with designs.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way I think about this car is, okay, so it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be faster to produce, so higher volumes, cheaper to produce. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so if I announce this too early on, there's a chance Model Y and Model 3 are significantally impacted from a demand perspective.
Not Model Y, Model 3. Model 3 definitely.
Model 3.
Because the size will be smaller.
Yeah, Model Y is huge. I mean, it's especially
for it would be a hatchback, right? We're sure it's going to be a hatchback.
I think it'll be a hatchback. But I think it'll be significantly smaller than a Model 3. Right?
Yeah, and higher.
You think about the way Mercedes and Audi and other luxury designers, when they go down into that $30,000 to $35,000 segment, they want to clearly differentiate it from their $50,000 car. Mm. And Tesla, again, they're smart. They should do the same. They should make sure that everybody sees that, like, this is a compact car. It's not a full size car.
More of a city car. Sure. I agree with you.
Like a Civic type style, right? Is that kind of what we're thinking? Like a Civic hatchback, sort of smaller car, like
maybe
BMW
probably
3.
Even smaller than that.
Yeah.
Because you obviously don't need a lot of a front.
Very little leg room for the rear passengers, but still a 4-seater.
Yeah.
Four people could fit in it. Not me. Yeah. But
Alexandra,
you could fit in it. I have a hard time fitting in a Tesla Model 3. I mean, I have a Y, which is.
I never use ours. I only go into the X. You really have to get into it, like in a Porsche in the good old days, right?
It's too small for me.
That's it. We're getting old there, Gary. We won't admit it, but it's just.
I could sit in the front, but Model 3, I remember when Omar, because I've never really ridden around in a Model 3, Model Y. Omar took around his Model 3. It's like, this thing is tight. It's really hard for me to fit into it, but I think it'll be smaller than that. And
I have my two next to each other in front of the garage. So you have the X and the 3, and when you're from one side, when you have the X, you don't see the 3 at all from no angle, right? You really have to turn around to find it.
So you don't drive around the 3? You drive the X?
Only the X for the best, right?
Good for you. Yeah, I would do that too.
I worked hard for it and I love it. This is my car. There's just nothing else comes close. This one is now 8 months.
Okay, so it's been it's part of the new. It's the new X, not the old X.
It's the new X. It's the refresh X. We've taken it for at least 4 road trips now to Vegas. We're doing every 4 weeks a 2-hour trip to Paso Robles. It's a dream come true. It's absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh, there is, because it has, those things that you put down against the sun. How do you call that in English?
The sun visors.
Yeah, exactly. And so they are not there. They are on the side, and you have to bring them over and open them. And my gosh, it's awesome. But if you have quickly sun, you better know what you're doing, because if you're in traffic, exactly,
just let the car drive itself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Look, if I knew, back to your question, Farzad, if I knew that Robotaxi would be, again, 99.9% no interventions by next year, then I would say go for it. But I don't know. Elon's been wrong since 2019 when he said there'd be 1 million Robotaxis on the road by the end of 2020. And it's just, his bias is that it's going to get done, but it just doesn't get done. And then you got to get it approved. So I don't think they can take a chance and say, well, let's do it, both cars at the same time. I don't know what the downside is to getting a compact car out there. And when you get to Robotaxi, just remove, and I'm not an engineer, obviously, remove the steering wheel and remove the pedals at that point. Why can't you do that? I don't know from an engineering standpoint why that's so hard.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I want to...
Go ahead,
please.
Go ahead,
No, go ahead with Sandy first. But because we were talking about this approval for, level 4 and now Robotaxi, there's actually nothing in place. Nothing. No. I mean, I'm sure they're all working on it in those government agencies, but we had this discussion last week in a YouTube. You may want to link to that. And it just seems that government is so late always to jump on these occasions. So if we're waiting for an authorization, I think we won't have it. I think actually the biggest thing will be to make sure Tesla insurance actually covers the whole liability side of it. And that will only be doable once Tesla provides them all the data, because I mean, insurers, as you know, are just actuaries who need to be reassured with numbers. And so if Tesla Insurance says, okay, you can let them all drive, we cover, if ever, the worst of the worst happens, I think they don't need to ask for an authorization initially. I mean, will the governments come up with something? Yes, but you already have a lot of US states that approved it, that have it in their laws. I don't think we're waiting for an authorization. I think the biggest hurdle now is to convince the insurance and then get it out there. But again, I don't think they're there.
States like California will require that the manufacturer accept the liability associated with calling it level 4, level 5, which Tesla's never been able to do. Because once you call it level 4, level 5, you're basically saying you're liable if the car, crashes or something.
No matter what.
Yeah. And so I don't know if Tesla's ready to do that, but most states that I've seen, like I've looked at California's and Texas,
Florida,
in order to call it to get a permit for Robotaxi, even just a permit, it has to be at least a level 4, and that's up to the manufacturer to call it what they want, which means it's a liability question. And
exactly, that's it.
I don't know if Tesla's willing to do that.